So beautiful. It's gorgeous.
All that. I'm surprised it's so rich by the tree.
Yeah, the grass is very rich.
All right, guys, here's part 2. Okay, so I'm very stubborn, so I didn't want help, and I decided I was gonna get in the car and call my doctor and see what's going on with me, call my primary care. Because I've never been in a situation like this before and I didn't know how to handle it. So my first thought was, okay, I'm still feeling bad, let me just call my primary care. And so I called my primary care doctor's office, and she was just like, I was like, okay, so this is what I said. I was like, hey, I passed out multiple times yesterday, like without warning, and I'm not feeling well today. Can I schedule an appointment to see my primary care? And the first thing that she said was, we can't see you. And I'm just like, what? And she's like, yeah, we can't see you. When people pass out, the first place that needs to see them is the ER. And I'm like, oh crap, I've been trying to avoid going to the emergency room because and this is pre-COVID, guys, but I'm just like, I don't feel like it's that big of a deal, compared to like other major accidents and things like that. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. And so I was like, okay. So then I called my husband and I'm like, hey, I need to go to the ER because I called my primary care and they said when people pass out multiple times or pass out in general, they need to go to the ER. And he was like, okay. And from there we went to the ER. And when I got there, it felt like my state was like kept getting worse to the point where like I was stuttering a lot. I got into check-in, and as they were like, okay, what's your date of birth? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. So like I said my name just fine, but when it came to saying my date of birth, like I kept stuttering on like that one, day. I was like saying like, I couldn't say 15. Like it was like really like dragged out and hard to get it out. So they did a CT, they did a CAT scan, and they, gave me fluids, and, we're trying to figure out what was wrong, and they didn't know. And so I had to be admitted to a bigger hospital because this was at a like one of those like standalone emergency centers. That's where I went. And so they said, you know what, we need to do further testing, and so we're gonna have to admit you into this larger hospital because they have the tools to deal with it, to give you more testing and to diagnose you. And so I went through it with it. It's my first time ever riding in an ambulance, and it was kind of, all emotions were there. It was kind of scary. And all I could think about was like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna pay for this? Because ambulances are, they're pretty expensive. And well, good thing is our insurance covered it. But so we got to the actual bed in the hospital, and I had to stay there overnight by myself. I was so sad. And so I was there, and I just barely could walk. To prove it, like, here's my little fall risk band. I was in my bed. I had my doctor, they took blood work throughout the night, and they were running tests. They did an ultrasound of my heart and everything like that to make sure everything was fine there. They did other tests too, and at the end of the day, they ended up diagnosing me with hyperthyroidism. However, they said that didn't explain my syncope. And I was just like, how could you, then what's wrong with me? Like, how could you just say, hey, you had this, and the other stuff, we have no idea what that is, so just, be careful, you'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. And you know, one thing that I really hate is when they tell you, oh, women have syncope issues all the time. And I'm just like, okay, but why? So yeah, I don't know. It just annoys me when they say, oh, it's pretty normal for a young woman to have syncope. And I'm just like, back to back? Okay. Anyway, so they sent me home and they gave me an endocrinologist that I had to see like every month, basically. And so they had me taking methimazole in order to manage my hyperthyroidism at the time. And I was like, okay, you know, so I took my pills every single morning. They started me off, I think, at like 10 milligrams, I believe. And so this is the part where it gets really exciting. All right, guys. Thanks for All right, guys. Thanks for watching part 2. Part 3 will be coming out next week.